Welcome to our deep dive into the Viking Age, explorers, traders, and warriors. For over 300 years, from the late 8th to early 11th century, the Vikings left an indelible mark on the history of Europe. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of these legendary Norsemen, their far-reaching explorations, and their enduring legacy. Our journey begins in the rugged, mountainous regions of Scandinavia, modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Here, amidst fjords, forests, and vast plains, the Viking society thrived. These hardy people were farmers, fishermen, craftsmen, and, most famously, seafarers. The Vikings' social structure was based on clans led by chieftains, and their society valued honor, bravery, and loyalty. They lived in longhouses made of timber, with thatched roofs and central hearths that provided warmth during the harsh winters. The Vikings were a resourceful people, adapting to their environment with remarkable ingenuity. Their diet was diverse, including fish, meat, dairy, and grains. They cultivated barley, rye, and oats, and raised livestock such as cattle, sheep, and pigs. This self-sufficiency was vital for surviving the long, dark Scandinavian winters. But what drove these Norsemen to set sail from their homeland and embark on perilous journeys across uncharted waters? Several factors played a role, including overpopulation, political conflicts, and a desire for wealth and adventure. The allure of rich, undefended monasteries and towns in Europe provided a compelling incentive for these daring expeditions. The Viking Age is often synonymous with their brutal raids. The infamous raid on the Lindisfarne Monastery in 793 AD shocked the Christian world and marked the beginning of the Viking Age. These raids were swift and terrifying, targeting monasteries and settlements along coastlines and rivers. Viking warriors were formidable, equipped with round shields, iron helmets, and weapons like swords, axes, and spears. Their longships, with shallow drafts and symmetrical designs, allowed them to navigate both open seas and shallow rivers, making them highly effective in surprise attacks. Their tactics were not just about brute force. Vikings used strategy and psychological warfare to instill fear in their enemies. The sight of a dragon-headed longship on the horizon was enough to send shivers down the spines of coastal inhabitants across Europe. But the Vikings were not just raiders. They were also explorers, traders, and settlers. They sought new lands to farm and live in, expanding their horizons far beyond the Scandinavian shores. Beyond their raiding, the Vikings were also explorers and settlers. They ventured far and wide, discovering new lands and establishing colonies. In 860, Norsemen reached Iceland, and within a century, it became a thriving Viking settlement. From Iceland, the adventurous spirit of the Vikings led them further west to Greenland, where Eric the Red founded a colony. Despite the harsh and icy conditions, the Viking settlers managed to carve out a living, farming, hunting, and trading. But perhaps the most remarkable of their voyages was the journey to North America. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, reached the shores of a land he called Vinland, believed to be in modern-day Newfoundland. This brief foray into North America occurred almost 500 years before Columbus's famous voyage. While the settlement in Vinland was short-lived, it stands as a testament to the Vikings' unparalleled seafaring skills and their unquenchable thirst for exploration. While their raids are well documented, the Vikings were also shrewd traders. Their extensive trade networks spanned from the Byzantine Empire to the Islamic Caliphate, bringing silver, spices, glassware, and other goods to Scandinavia. Viking towns like Hedeby and Birka became major trading hubs, facilitating not just the exchange of goods, but also ideas and cultural practices. These towns were cosmopolitan centers where diverse cultures mingled, creating a vibrant and dynamic environment. The Vikings traded furs, amber, walrus ivory, and slaves in exchange for luxury goods such as silk, wine, and jewelry. They used a system of weights and measures for their transactions and minted their own coins, which have been found as far afield as Central Asia. Daily life in a Viking village revolved around farming, craftsmanship, and family. Women played significant roles in managing households, weaving textiles, and even participating in trade. Vikings were skilled craftsmen, creating intricate jewelry, weapons, and longships. Their art, characterized by interlacing patterns and animal motifs, reflected their deep connection to nature and mythology. They built impressive wooden stave churches and carved runestones to commemorate important events and people. Education in Viking society was practical, with knowledge passed down through generations. Children learned essential skills such as farming, hunting, and sailing from their parents and community elders. Norse mythology is rich and complex, featuring gods like Odin, Thor, and Freyja. These deities influenced every aspect of Viking life, from daily rituals to epic sagas. The Vikings believed in a cosmology where 9 worlds were connected by the great Yggdrasil tree. Their myths tell of creation, heroism, and the end times in Ragnarok, a prophesied battle that would end the world. These stories were preserved in the form of sagas and poems, passed down orally through generations before being written down in the Middle Ages. The transition to Christianity began around the 10th century as kings and chieftains converted, often for political reasons. Churches and monasteries were built, and Christian practices gradually supplanted pagan traditions. However, many Norse myths and customs were integrated into Christian practices, creating a unique cultural blend. Among the most legendary Vikings are figures like Ragnar Lothbrok, a fearsome warrior whose exploits became the stuff of saga and legend. According to legend, Ragnar was a king and a warrior who led many successful raids across Europe. His sons, including Bjorn Ironside and Ivar the Boneless, continued his legacy, becoming famous warriors in their own right. Harald Hardrada, known as the last great Viking king, spent years as a mercenary in the Byzantine Empire's Varangian Guard before returning to Norway to claim the throne. His invasion of England in 1066 ended with his death at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, marking the end of the Viking Age. Eric the Red, whose fiery temper led to his exile from Iceland, founded the first Norse settlements in Greenland. His son, Leif Erikson, continued his adventurous spirit. Exploring lands far to the west, the Viking Age eventually came to an end, but its impact is still felt today. The Vikings left behind a legacy of exploration, cultural exchange, and even genetic influence in the regions they touched. Their sagas and myths continue to inspire literature, art, and popular culture, reminding us of a time when Norsemen braved the unknown and carved their names into history. From the epic tales of the Eddas to the modern fascination with Viking heritage, the spirit of the Vikings lives on. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Viking Age. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more historical explorations. Skál!